Okay, I see 7 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting number 24 of the Westland City Council to order. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask Councilwoman Rutkowski to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rutkowski. If we can have the clerk call the roll, please.
Okay, and as I do this, I ask each council member to acknowledge that they're participating remotely and also to identify the county, municipality, and state that they're seated in. Councilman Godbout.
Present, attending the meeting remotely from Westland, Michigan, Wayne County.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. Councilman Herzberg.
Here, attending from Wayne County, Westland City Hall, Michigan.
Councilman McDermott. Thank you. Councilman McDermott.
Present, attending the meeting virtually from Westland, Michigan in Wayne County.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutkowski.
Present, attending virtually from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. Council President Hart is absent, excused. Councilman Pro Tem Londo.
Thank you. I am present and I'm attending this public meeting virtually from the County of Wayne, City of Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. A quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We don't have any announcements and presentations tonight. I did want to, however, take a moment to speak on the tragic news recently. As you all know, we lost a true pillar in our community with the recent death of Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon after a weeks-long battle with COVID-19. He was a dedicated public servant, a loving father, and a lifelong friend of many, and he's really going to be missed. So if you guys can all please join me in a moment of silence for Sheriff Napoleon. Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll move on to questions or input on agenda items from the public. This section will allow a person to be recognized only at the beginning of the meeting to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on tonight's business agenda. Questions asked will be answered during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. Questions asked may be responded to during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. I want to remind folks that are in the attendee area, if you're on the Zoom app, you can use the raise hand feature. And if you're using your telephone, you can use *9. Is there anyone in the attendee area wishing to speak? I have Mr. William Asper.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Awesome. Hi, good morning, or good afternoon, evening. So there's a couple of things on the agenda meeting. I believe there was one thing that was about the Humane Society, about the contract with them. I want to say it was like $8,000 or $9,000 a month for 12 months. Now, earlier this year, I FOIA'd all contracts. So I bought 4 or 5 months of contracts. Now, on these amounts, I can tell you in my big stack of FOIAs, it's itemized. So it's not like a blanket number, like $8,000 or $9,000 a month. It's itemized, like per pet they take in, per animal they euthanize. So yes, per animal they euthanize. So Westland Humane Society is in business. They make money off euthanizing animals. That's a huge concern for me being a taxpayer. It's also a reason why my aunt and uncle no longer donates to them anymore. And they're one of the original ones for the addition. My second thing is regarding the no caretakers in Westland for the marijuana. Now, that if you're going to have no caretakers in Westland, that means that people can only get their marijuana, their medicine from these retail centers. Now, those are higher prices usually than a regular caretaker. So what you are doing is you are raising the price of medication for people who need it. Now, I don't even think it's legal. I think it's against state law. So I don't think it would even, if it does pass here, I think a lawsuit would knock it out. But the fact that this is medicine, don't look at it as recreation, look at it as medicine. And you are going to deprive Westland citizens, Westland residents, everyone of a lower priced option. It just drives me crazy. Just thinking about it. I think that was, is there another part after the council or the meeting topics? We have another time to call in or
Yes,
speak.
you do. Yes, you do.
All right.
The citizen comment portion.
All right, thank you. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is the phone number ending in 017.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard Graham from Westland and also with Move Westland Forward. Regarding item D that was just talked about, I was just looking for more of an explanation of that. I, frankly don't, necessarily understand what Caregiver Grow and cultivation operations are. So I was hoping that there would be maybe a little bit of a explanation for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the attendee area wishing to speak or have questions on the agenda items? Anyone else in the attendee area wishing to speak on agenda items? Final call. Anyone else? All right, we'll close questions or input on agenda items, and the chair will now entertain a motion for the consent calendar. Is there a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved, Rutkowski.
Motion by Councilman Murkowski. Is there support?
Support, Councilman Godbout.
Supported by Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion from the maker or supporter?
No.
Yeah, I just want to comment that with item D, would it be possible for the public to have a little bit of clarification, because it's not the elimination of the caregiver, it's to prevent the caregivers from circumventing the licensing to go into the approved medical marijuana and recreational marijuana zoned properties. Is that correct, Mo?
I'm ready and happy to give you an explanation. Jim, kindly step in if I'm speaking incorrectly. So to answer the citizens' question really quickly earlier too, there's three main laws that regulate marijuana businesses, or really marijuana in the state of Michigan. The two, the adult use and the medical, those are regulated by the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act and the Michigan Regulation and Taxation Marijuana Act. Those two are covered under our business ordinance that we adopted in October of 2019. And then the first one that was adopted or passed in the state, that's from 2008, that's the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. And that's the law that regulates caregivers. Caregivers are cultivation and growers that could really grow anywhere, either in residential, commercial, industrial. We as a city do not have on the books method to regulate or approve or really oversee these operations. So we're trying to give the council enough time to help us put together an ordinance to regulate these facilities in wherever shape, way they want to, or wherever they want to locate them throughout the city as well. So that's what the purpose of this 12-month moratorium is, to give us some time to put an ordinance together.
Mr. Fasson, did you want to jump in?
I just add that caregivers currently have certain provisions under the state law that allows them to grow in, for example, residential areas at their homes. What we're seeing is a number of requests statewide to move these operations into a more industrial zone and a more industrial operation. And that's what the moratorium will allow the city to have time to develop an appropriate regulatory scheme for where those places ought to be located and what regulations are there. It's not to prevent caregivers. It's not to raise the price and drive them to adult care facilities or adult marijuana facilities, it's really sort of a slightly different issue than was asked about in the questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Fasson. Any more discussion on the consent calendar? Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. I'd like to move items C and D to new business, please.
Are the maker and supporter okay with that?
Yeah.
Is the supporter okay with it?
When those, would that be?
Items C and D would be moving to new business 1A and 1B. Is that correct, clerk?
Yes, it would be a motion, so that's fine.
Okay, can the clerk call the roll to move items C and D to new business 1A and 1B, please?
Yes. To be clear, if it's a friendly amendment, a roll call is not necessary.
Okay,
If you wish to entertain a motion and a second, I'd be pleased to call roll.
if it's not necessary, then we don't need to.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on the consent calendar without items C and D? Any other discussion on the consent calendar? Councilman Herzberg?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just one more thing in regards to item F. With regarding the temporary outdoor dining areas, I just want to give words of support. Other council meetings are on Zoom nowadays. It's easier to watch other cities. I've been watching other cities. And, in the last few weeks, I've learned that not every city did what Westland did with regards to these businesses and the outdoor areas. So we got ahead of the game, and I'm glad to see this one on our agenda to be extended through 2021. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the consent calendar? Any other discussion? Okay, if the city clerk can call the roll, please.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
yes,
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes,
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held December 7, 2020. Approval of know before email and cybersecurity training subscription renewals for a 1-year period in the amount of $5,120. Adoption of prepared resolution approving Wayne County annual permit A21073, authorizing the city of Westland to apply to the County of Wayne Department of Public Services Engineering Division Permit Office for permits to occupy Wayne County road right-of-ways to conduct sanitary sewer inspections, repairs and routine maintenance, water main repairs. I'm sorry, give me one moment. Water main inspections, repairs, routine maintenance, and installation of residential and commercial water service connections with a 2-inch maximum diameter. Other utilities, for example, natural gas, electric, or fiber optic. Application of dust palliatives and repair and replacement of existing sidewalks. Pavement repair and restoration, and to temporarily close a county road for a reasonable length of time for a parade, marathon, festival, or similar activity, to use a county road as a detour for traffic around such activity taking place on a non-county road, and or to place a temporary banner within the county right-of-way. The last item approved on the consent calendar is the adoption of resolution to exempt temporary outdoor dining areas from the temporary use requirements through December 31, 2021. Moving to new business, item 1, approval of voucher.
This time the chair will entertain a motion, or is that, don't we have a new business 1A, city clerk?
yes.
And that'll come after item 1.
Okay, thank you. All right, the chair will entertain a motion for approval of vouchers.
So moved. Councilman Herzberg.
Motion by Councilman Herzberg. Is there support?
support McDermott,
supported by Councilman McDermott. Any discussion from the maker and supporter?
No, thank you.
Any discussion from the remaining council? Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving to item 1A. Approval of annual animal sheltering agreement with the Michigan Humane Society. The term of the contract shall be for a one-year period commencing immediately and expiring on December 31, 2021 in the amount of $8,691.67 per month.
Time the chair will entertain a motion. Is there a motion?
So moved, Rutkowski.
Motion by Councilwoman Rakowski. Is there support?
Support.
Support Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion from the maker and supporter?
No, thank you.
No.
Any discussion from the council? Councilman McDermott has his hand up.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I appreciate it. A point was brought up earlier by a resident about the Westland Humane Society location and specifically being a no-kill shelter or not. Unfortunately, they are not listed on the statewide list for animal activists and rights groups as a no-kill shelter. I do believe, even though it's a very limited part of what they do there, they are unfortunately a kill shelter there at the Westland Humane Society. There are separate Humane Society locations throughout the state that are no-kill shelters, but unfortunately ours here in Westland is not. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McDermott. Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. On the same topic of the euthanasia, I mean, even if they say I'm going to just key off of what McDermott said. Even if they say they don't do it, there's always a case where, you know, a dog or an animal is injured to the point of no return and they need to do it. My issue is with that in the contract. Right in the beginning, it gives definitions, euthanasia, but then there's nothing further about it in the rest of the contract. So, and this contract's basically how they're going to build a city. It looks to me like it's going to be this $8,700 a month, plus how many animals are brought there, veterinary services, vaccinations, all this other stuff. There's nothing about euthanasia. So I cannot be in support without a policy on euthanasia. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion from the council? Actually, Hassan's here. Hassan, Mr. Saab, would you like to jump in on this, or Chief Judge Ruzek?
Excuse me, Pro Tem Londo, my hand is up.
Councilwoman Green, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm looking at page 15 of the council packet. It is page 6 of the contract with the Humane Society under transfer of ownership. The last sentence under that clause says that in the event an animal is not deemed suitable for placement through the Humane Society or a placement partner, the city authorizes and instructs Michigan Humane to humanely euthanize such such animal. So that particular clause does briefly speak to euthanasia. I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Saab or Chief Judge Ruzek, do either of you like to speak on this?
Thank you, Mr. President. What we have in front of us today is the renewal of annual agreement with MHS to provide a needed services to the City Department of Neighborhood Services and to the residents as well. And I know other communities around us use the same services that are provided by MHS. I can tell you over the past many years, they provided excellent services to treat animals and care for them, as well as check on the welfare of animals that are brought to them. So from our standpoint, we have needs for this kind of service, and we respectfully appreciate approval of this agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Saab. Councilwoman Green?
I've already spoken. Thank you.
Oh, I just saw your hand was up. Any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion from the council? Councilman Hersberg?
Yes. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Saab. You make a good point. And this is an important contract for the city regarding our animal control and things like that. I still would like to see a policy, a written policy saying that they're not going to euthanize and build a city unless A, B, and C. I want to see that in writing. So in light of this being an important contract for all the other parts of it, I would like to make a motion to postpone until the next council meeting until we can get that language in there.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Councilman McDermott. Is there support?
Support. That's Councilman Hersberg. Support.
I apologize. Councilman Hersberg, supported by Councilwoman Green. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, if the clerk can take the roll, please.
To postpone item 1A. Councilman Godbout.
I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand quick enough, but on the postponement, I didn't know whether delaying the vote on the contract would put us in a state of not having service over the new year moving forward. So,
Mr. Sapp, is there a chance you can answer that for us?
Well, the contract actually starts January 1st. So up until that time, we're fine. But obviously we have to find a solution coming January 1st.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Hersberg.
Yeah, just in regards to that, I looked last year in our council packets for the old contract. I couldn't find it in January. Unless we passed it in March and it said it expires December 31st, I think it would go for a year and it would overlap into the next year. So.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, if the clerk can call the roll on the postponement.
Postpone. Councilman Godbout.
no.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
No.
Pro Tem Londo.
No.
Motion fails.
So moving back to the original motion then, Mr. Clerk?
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Just for clarification, clerk, how does a motion fail if it's a 3-3 split?
Because it's a tie, a majority did not approve it.
Okay, gotcha.
There was no discussion called for the.
I apologize. Is there any discussion? Back to the original motion, is there any discussion? Councilman Hersberg, go ahead.
Thank you. It's kind of shocking that there's a few council members that don't want to get this cleared up. I mean, we're not here to just vote yes and pass things through as they come. Even if they have problems, we're here to straighten them out and give input. So I understand everybody might be concerned about lack of service if this doesn't get approved. I would like clarification, maybe if we have that from the city attorney.
Fasson?
I don't think I can provide any clarification that would suggest that this particular Michigan Humane Society location would enter into a no-kill contract. It's clearly a center that euthanizes. One of the challenges the city has is if a owner won't claim their dog, these charges, these boarding charges run up. Sometimes we actually have to go to court to get a court authorization at that point, putting the dog into the hands of the city and then the city over to the Humane Society. So it's at times a fairly complicated process, but this particular location, as you all noted, is a center which euthanizes because it can't place all the animals it takes in.
I wasn't asking them to declare themselves as a no-kill facility. I was just asking for a written policy declaring when and why they would euthanize, and not just at will, whether they're short on volunteers, they're short on employees, they don't have donations for the month to feed them. You know, we want to make sure that we're as close to the line as possible and doing the right thing. I don't want to see them euthanizing animals and then that's coming out of our tax base.
Mayor?
You're muted, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. The only thing that I would add on this, Council, is that, this is language that this is an annual contract that we bring back. So this is language that you guys have seen before. And, to Councilman Herzberg's comments, that, at the end of the day, this agenda became available to you on Wednesday. And at any point, if you had contacted the director or any one of us, we could have perhaps had somebody from the Humane Society available tonight, or actually with your concerns, as we could have offered an amendment to that contract tonight. So, some of that's professional courtesy, and but at the end of the day, they do a great job. We have a great working relationship with them. They do have brick and mortar in our town, and it's the Humane Society here is very well respected. They like Hassan said, they do a great job for us. And so, like I said, some of your comments, we could have addressed those if you had reached out to us prior to the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Councilwoman Green?
I just like to say for the record that I support the Humane Society here in Westland. I've adopted animals from them, and I think they have an excellent location there. However, in terms of contract language, I have stated regarding previous contracts in the city of Westland that are either very vague or that allow for loopholes. I am in agreement with Councilman Herzberg that I don't see any problem with them documenting a euthanization policy. There will be times that they do have to euthanize, whether it's for stray animals, vicious animals, animals who are, sick beyond being able to reasonably undergo surgery. So any reasonable person would conclude that there are circumstances that euthanizing an animal is necessary. But I think the language in the city, the contracts that Westland, that are executed on behalf of the citizens of Westland are insufficient in a lot of instances, and this is one of them. And so, as the mayor stated, it may be a pretty quick process to get something documented in terms of euthanization. And I don't see any problem with requesting that. That may be even something that they can get over to our office before the end of the week. So I support the request to have the process documented on behalf of Westland taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. With respect to the mayor, we did get this on Wednesday. The public wasn't available to view it until Friday. Concerns weren't brought to me from residents until yesterday and today. I know this is the same language we've had. Opinions change, things change, and people have asked me to address this, and that's what I'm doing. I do find it disrespectful that you jump into council debate, and I think your comments were uncalled for. Basically, you need to stay out of this stuff. We're trying to do the right thing here, and typically it's status quo that if we have something on the agenda, the petitioner is at the meeting. So with that, I will propose an amendment that we amend the contract to say that they will not bill the city for euthanizations at this point.
A motion on the floor for an amendment. Does that need support, Mr. Clerk?
I believe it does.
Yes.
Is there support?
Support McDermott.
Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Green has her hand up.
Yes, what is the, can you clarify what this amendment is, please? Thank you.
That they will not bill the city for any euthanizations. And I do believe that if they want that changed, that they can come back for an amendment maybe next month at a council meeting and we can get this approved.
So are you putting the motion on, to clarify, are you putting the motion forward because there is no process in place that would define what their euthanization process is?
Right, correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Any other discussion? Okay, if the clerk can take the roll, please.
Councilman Godbout,
No.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg, Councilman Hersberg,
Yes, sorry about that.
Councilman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
No.
Pro Tem Londo.
No.
Amendment fails.
Back to the original motion again. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, if the clerk can call the roll.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
No.
Councilman Hersberg,
No.
Councilman McDermott,
No.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Motion fails. Moving to item 1B. Introduction of ordinance 248A101, an ordinance to amend the Westland City Code by amending section 110.21 to establish a temporary moratorium on processing requests for special land use approvals, permits, or licenses to establish a caregiver, grow, and cultivation operation under the Medical Marijuana Facilities License Act.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
Support.
Councilman Green, are you the motion maker?
Yes. Support.
Okay. Who was the motion maker?
Councilwoman
Godbout?
Green, and supported by Councilman Godbout is what I have.
Okay. Any discussion from the maker and supporter?
Yes, I just want to clarify for the sake of transparency and public information, this particular line item is only to put a moratorium in place that would prevent grow businesses to be established in industrial space only, which means in the city of Westland, which would still allow for residential grows. Is that correct? City Attorney, if you can please clarify that this is only going to impact our industrial space.
So it certainly is broader than just the industrial space, because I don't want to leave with the impression that you could set up in a commercial space. But I'll kick this over to Mo, because he's really the one who's receiving the requests from people as to how do they get established somewhere. So Mo, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so again, this goes back to Westland not having anything on the books to regulate caregiver grows, which are permitted by the state. And there's some case law that I sent to you that does require cities to accommodate those types of growing operations for medical reasons and to provide access and all of the stuff that you heard earlier. So my goal is, based off of all of the conversations I've been having with people and what I've been learning about the caregiver activities, is to work with the city council over the next year and try to regulate these wherever you want them, prohibit them wherever you don't want them, and to have some operating procedures in place. That includes residential, industrial, and commercial. Right now, we don't approve any of these facilities because we don't have an approval process. So if someone is doing it inside of a neighborhood, sometimes we don't know about it. Sometimes we only hear about it if there's complaints. There's certainly no operating regulations. For example, Farmington Hills regulates the amount of energy DTE can supply to a residential neighborhood for the caregivers. That's not even anything we have talked about. So I'm hoping to work with you on figuring out what you want. So this moratorium would effectively prohibit the city staff from engaging in approving verbally or formally any of these types of facilities anywhere in the city at this time.
Okay, just to come back to what my initial statement was, and forgive me, I'm opening up the council packet. I'm going to read two questions from the council packet. Mo, I'm on page 16. The last paragraph under background information states that it is reasonable and necessary for a moratorium on sitting caregivers in non-residential areas in order to allow the city time to review the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, et cetera, a 12-month moratorium is requested. The recommended action states verbatim, motion to adopt the ordinance change allowing for a 12-month moratorium on sitting of medical marijuana caregivers in non-residential areas by the city. So your statement was that this would impact the entire city of Westland. However, the documentation in the council packet exempts residential area according to the request that you made. So are you now changing the request to include residential area?
So I think that's a good catch. So the agenda memo does state non-residential areas, but the actual moratorium that you're approving is all inclusive to all zoning districts. So just know if you approve this, it's throughout the entire city. That was my mistake that non-residential made its way into your cover letter there.
So you are asking for a moratorium that will impact the entire city?
Yes, because we've never spoken about this. I think there's a lot of options that the city council and the city have to at least consider in allowing these new facilities to set up shops, not only in residential, but throughout the industrial and commercial areas. And do you even want them in the residential? Do you only want them in the commercial? Do you want them only in the industrial? This is all things I want to bring to your attention, bring you options on how we can regulate operations and placement. And I feel like we should do that for all of the city instead of just the two other zoning districts, if you give me that opportunity.
Right. I actually would agree that discussion is necessary. And I was all set to support your request based on the information that was placed in our council packet, which was to exclude residential. So with it being clarified tonight that residential is also going to be barred, so to speak, or prohibited with caregiver grows. Attorney Falzone, can you speak to the legality of how that what type of predicament could the city of Westland find itself in if we implement an ordinance that conflicts with state law? Or is there any such law that this ordinance would conflict with? Because it is my understanding that local municipalities must be in line with state law. So again, if we are not required to, if we have the flexibility to make that decision, can you please explain that? And then also, can you speak to whether any other municipalities have taken this same step? And if there was legal action taken and what, if any, outcome came from that? Thank you.
Mr. Fessel?
Council member, you're correct. The city ordinance is controlled by, in general, and in this particular instance, is controlled by state law. So state law would be controlling. There's really two issues here. The citing of a business
from Jeff is bad for the city because someone could drop off a box of 5 injured kittens. So if they can't put them down.
So the issue that there is a citing issue and a regulatory issue. So there may need to be regulatory provisions regarding caregivers in residential neighborhoods. As originally set up, that's what was going to happen. There would be a small resident caregiver situation in a home where you were raising plants for somebody who in your family or in your household who you were caring for. So there's a regulatory issue and a citing issue. What's come up and which other cities are dealing with, and it's a little too early to say how this is all going to work out in the legality or the courts, is the attempt by more structured caregivers to move into industrial or commercial zones and thereby come to planning and say, what regulatory and citing opportunities do I have to jump through to set up my caregiver grow operation in an industrial building? So that's what I think we're trying to put the city in a position of, just because somebody turns in an application, we don't have to process, the city doesn't have to process it over this period as it attempts to get its land use zoning and citing regulations understood. Similarly, in that study, you may decide that there's some level at which you also want to regulate, if allowed by state law, residential caregivers in that household situation. I'm not aware of Farmington's energy use regulation, but it's an interesting problem. And I think both probably PD and fire can speak to, yeah, they've found some of these caregivers that are more industrial operations using a whole lot of power and creating safety hazards in a house. So it is a new area that has a degree of complexity, and I can't give you a precise answer to how that should work out.
Okay, well, again, I was all set to approve it based on the information that was included in the city council packet. And so the discussion tonight is a brand new and a different request. And we have no idea whether or not us approving this ordinance may place the city of Westland in a position, and rightfully so, possibly, to be sued because our ordinance may conflict with state law. And so unless we can comfortably say that there is some type of guideline or clause or some sort of protection or a buffer that the current law allows for us to either approve this or debate it. I think it's a bad move for us to implement an ordinance when we know that we are going to get bombarded with people that want to do it, businesses or growers who want to do it, and we implement a law to bar them, and our law is considered in violation of the current laws on the books. There hasn't been any research that shows that we're protected, other than we don't want to allow it. And again, I would have voted for it the way that it was written in our council packet, but I can't vote for something to where we're potentially opening ourselves up for a lawsuit. I think that we need to find out from a legal standpoint exactly what protections we have and then move forward once we have all of our ducks in a row. It seems like we're kind of jumping the gun here, and I'm not going to vote for something that looks like it could potentially be outside of what the law will allow. Thank you.
So, through the council chair, if I can, at this point, since the direction, the city council hasn't discussed this and there's been no direction on it. There's nothing we're doing presently that's outside what the law would allow. What we're trying to figure out is what is it city council wants to do and then measure that against what's allowed. What the moratorium does is say, let's just hold taking applications. If somebody makes an application to cite a business for caregiving, then let's hold that. We're not going to process that so that study sessions can be held and council's direction can be obtained and appropriate ordinances can be drafted. I can't tell you, I don't know what the ordinance is going to be because I don't know what the direction is yet. And I think that's where Mo is at. And as people ask him, what's the city's position on this? I think his response is simply, we don't have a position yet. We haven't taken, city council hasn't spoken on this issue yet. I think that's what you're being asked about, isn't it, Mo?
But shouldn't we, I just wanted to just respond to you, Attorney Falzone. Shouldn't we have already made this decision before we opened up the application process? We had like 10 study sessions and we've already taken applications. If we have applications from people or businesses who want to proceed with the exact type of marijuana business that we're now considering barring, well, I guess Mo, do we have any applications for this? Has anybody applied or inquired about this?
People have been inquiring about caregivers probably since I started work for the city of Westland. The city of Westland does not have a process to regulate or approve caregivers like most cities. So I want to work with the elected officials so I'm not making decisions blindly on how you want those facilities to be set up in Westland, where you want them to be set up, how you want me to process applications, all of that stuff, similar to what we did with the marijuana business licenses that are approved by the other two state laws, which is the adult use and the medical marijuana uses.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mo, I have a few questions because I think, like my colleague, I understood it to be one way and it's perhaps coming across a slightly different way. So first I would ask is, do we know how many residential caregivers there currently are?
I do not know. I'm not sure if the police has a list, ongoing list. I'm sure they don't have all of them throughout town, but they might get complaints where they keep a database or something. I don't know. I don't at this time.
Okay, and how would this affect individuals who are already caregiving from their residence?
To be open and honest with you, it would not, because we don't know where they exist. It wouldn't affect them because they're already in operation. Those are my two answers to you.
Okay, and would it be possible that if we did draft a new ordinance, they would then be operating illegally?
If they are doing things that are hazardous based off of what you implement, and we catch them, if they're out of compliance with building code, if they're out of compliance with rental certifications, there's a bunch of other things we can catch during that process. But it is possible that someone is doing something now where we are not regulating it, where you do enforce something to be more safety compliant or whatever, and then they're out of compliance. For example, that energy use thing. Someone could be using industrial type wattage right now in a residential neighborhood. You may adopt an ordinance that prohibits that. So we would have to figure out how to deal with that. I'm not sure how I can answer that question at this time.
Sure, and I can appreciate that, Mo. And I know you don't know all of the caveats here, but one of the challenges that I foresee is that we do have caretakers in the city who are operating with a caretaker's license. And if we draft an ordinance that makes it impossible for them to be providing medicinal care for their loved ones or those that they are taking care of, I'm not sure how that would impact us. A year Do you feel that that's sufficient time, or if we expedite this quicker, would we be able to do that?
So you could definitely expedite it quicker if you were to be able to, and then you could rescind the moratorium as a city council. We did the year because we're working on the other marijuana business ordinance that we have on the books, and I feel like that is going to take up a lot of your time in the coming months. I wanted to talk about something else too, but I forgot.
Okay. You know, with the current information, and I feel for you guys having to navigate both of them, both of the new business zoning versus, you know, people who are caretakers and perhaps just want to operate not in their homes, which I can appreciate as well, having been in a residential area before where that was taking place. I just don't feel comfortable. So at this time, I'd like to motion to postpone the vote on item 1B.
I support that, Councilman Herzberg.
Okay, motion to postpone from Councilwoman Rakowski, supported by Councilman Herzberg. Is there any, oh, Mo, did you want to jump in?
Yes, please. So like I said, I've been speaking to individuals that are interested in setting up shop for caregivers in Westland for months and months now. There is one attorney that would like to proceed with a use interpretation to the city council, to the planning commission, I'm sorry, if this does not get approved tonight for the January 5th meeting, and that will put us in a legal bind. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We do not have anything on the books for regulating and approving these types of facilities. And if this person is successful, he can set up shop without your opinion on this whatsoever, if you do not approve this tonight.
Okay, well, having the more information, then I'll reconsider my motion and remove it.
Any other discussion from the council? Councilwoman Green.
Yes, through the chair to Mo, it sounds like we're already in a legal bind or a potential pickle, because if we pass this ordinance, we could pass something that we're having to defend due to us implementing a law locally that conflicts with state law. And the only entity that stands to benefit from such action would be the law department, the city attorney, because taxpayers have to pay the legal fees. So if it almost sounds like the way that you are describing it is a darned if we do, darned if we don't. The fact of the matter is, you know, like I said, we got a council packet that asked us to take a different action than what we're being actually asked to take tonight. And then there are no definitive responses in terms of our action, the action that we take being one that we are legally within our jurisdiction to take. So we don't even know if this action will stand up. And whether this guy comes forward or not, he's going to, and I don't, you know, if we had the legal standing, then it is what it is. But it sounds like he's either going to come forward with his request on January 5th to move forward with what he wants to do, or we could potentially be sued because we have no law or judgments to previous cases, case law, or anything to support us implementing a ordinance that is simply what we're doing to bar action in our city that we don't want, but we may be legally required to allow. So again, this is very unfortunate. The biggest unfortunate portion of this is that the information that we received is not correct. And then we have a law team that cannot answer, cannot confidently tell us that, yes, this is the justified action to take, and this is what protects us in the event of a lawsuit. And I'm all for protecting our city. But it has to be in according to the law, not because we want to light a match before this guy shows up with his paperwork, because we know what he is going to do. And from a legal standpoint, he can watch this meeting based on what you just said on the record says that you're trying to stop him. So this meeting the discussion during this meeting is actually going to benefit him when he goes to court and makes a claim that the city of Westland just did this because they knew I was coming. And that's exactly what we're discussing tonight. So again, I would love to support your motion and protect our city, but I'm not going to vote for something under the gun that we might not even be acting legally on behalf of our residents. So I cannot support it. Thank you.
Mr. Fasson.
Council President, the moratorium request before you is perfectly legal. You are not being asked to adopt an ordinance. There's some confusion as to that. When we get to whatever the council wants to do, the ordinance the council wants will have to be legal. But there is no ordinance because there is no direction from council at this point. So what's being asked of you is a moratorium that maintains the status quo. To the extent there is some confusion on what zoning areas this covers, if you want to amend the resolution to provide that it relates only to industrial and commercial zones, those are the zoning areas in which they're coming to Mo and saying, how do I cite this in an industrial zone? They're not coming to him and saying, I have a private residence, how do I do this in my residence? They're coming to him and saying, I want to put this on Ford Road, or I want to put it in industrial property. Can I do that? And again, without council direction, what he's asking for is a moratorium that allows him to gather council direction on this on a going forward basis. The moratorium is legal. I can't say that the ordinance that you might adopt in the future is legal because I don't know what it is you're going to adopt. So if that frustrates council, I'm sorry, but that is the status. I don't know what you want to adopt yet, so I don't know if it's legal.
No, I'm not frustrated. And this is business, and we're just debating what's best for our residents. But I will refer you to page 16 of the council packet. Under recommended action, it states what Mo submitted to city council, or what Mayor Wild submitted to city council states, motion to adopt the ordinance change, allowing for a 12-month moratorium on sitting of medical marijuana caregivers in non-residential areas by the city. There is no frustration when we're trying to do the best thing for our residents. So I just like to clarify that. The council packet states what it states. So it is asking for a moratorium to change the ordinance. So your statement in terms of it actually, your statement doesn't align with what the council packet has requested us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Green. Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. I know that the state law was moot on citing the medical grow operations outside of the caregiver network, because it was originally set up for caregiver network to operate out of their own facility, their own home. And I believe that the current marijuana law allows people to grow in their own home. But the old law was moot on growing in other areas, at least, and Westland never took any action on it from the time the original Medical Marijuana Act was passed. So I would like to make an amendment to the resolution that would, at this point, limit it to, or restrict any put a moratorium, not restrict, put a moratorium on the the caregiver license to grow in resident, or to grow in industrial and commercial. because as Mo indicated, without this, somebody comes, and right now we currently, as he stated, don't have any applicants in, so it doesn't affect anyone currently. But it would also give us time to come up with how we want to regulate it. If we don't, then theoretically, someone could put in a caregiver grow facility in a commercial building less than 250 feet away from a residential property that our current marijuana ordinance that everyone fought to have all of these restrictions put in would be allowed. So I would much rather see a moratorium so we can set guidelines, regulations on what we want to see from a caregiver network facility outside of a residential area.
So there's a motion on the floor from Councilman Godbout for an amendment. Did you get the amendment, City Clerk?
I'd like to read it back,
Thank
if I
you.
may, using the original language from item 1B. So what I believe I understood the councilman to say, it would read, introduction of ordinance 248A101, an ordinance to amend the Westland City Code by amending section 110.21 to establish a temporary moratorium on processing requests for special land use approvals, permits, or licenses to establish a caregiver grow and cultivation operation under the Medical Marijuana Facilities License Act in commercial and industrial zoning districts.
That sound okay, Mr. Godbout?
Yes.
Is there support? Is there support for the motion? I'll support the motion. Is there any discussion from the maker?
No.
Any discussion from the rest of the council?
Yes, I have a question on this, this motion. The motion that the clerk read spoke to only industrial and commercial space. So does that mean that residential grows are still permissible under this motion that Councilman Godbout just made?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Councilman Godbout has his hand up. Okay, Mayor, you have your hand up as well.
Thank you, Council President, or thank you, Council President Pro Tem. Before I comment, I just would like to remind the people that are watching tonight is that the Westland City Charter clearly defines the mayor's ability to participate in discussion at the city council meetings. Here's the thing, City Council, as I kind of, as I step back, it seems like we're kind of getting stuck in the wheel on this one. We all have a lot of respect for Mo. He's highly respected at the city level, but all throughout the state of Michigan. This is an issue that's coming up statewide through the Michigan Planning Association. They're talking about it. What Mo's asking us to do is do a moratorium. It sounds like everybody's got a lot of opinions on this and we need more information. So, you know, passing a moratorium tonight, even if 12 months with the amount of discussion, that's probably a little bit too much time. But even if it was for 6 months or 3 months, or, you know, we can come back, Mo can come back and after the first of the year with the study session if needed on it. But I think that Councilman Godbout laid out some of our biggest fears is that with the amount of time that the city council spent on this ordinance, I think you guys did an incredible job on it. We're working our way through the process now. At the same time, the industry is trying to circumvent around the process and the ordinance that we have in the city of Westland. And this is what Mo is coming to us on. While he's got one person that may be threatening a lawsuit or asking for clarification at the planning commission. There's been a lot of people coming in and talking on this because at the end of the day, they're trying to circumvent the work that you guys have done. So by him asking for a moratorium, even if it's a shorter version of that, is just, if Mo says he needs a little bit of time to bring this, and ultimately he's asking you guys to decide what you want so that he arbitrarily doesn't tell somebody yes, and then you guys get a call from a resident and say, what are you guys doing? So I think at the end of the day, what he's asking for is you guys to give him a little bit more time. He wants your feedback, trust me. And I think that with a moratorium, even if it's a shorter term moratorium, where we can have some more discussion on it, I think is all he's asking here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you, Councilman Lando. In regards to this amendment, yeah, just to remind everybody, we got off track a little bit. Councilman Godbout made an amendment regarding industrial and commercial. My personal opinion, I don't agree with it. That being caregivers, they're not part of the recreational law. There's no commercial aspect. They're small operations. They don't have regular customers coming in and out. They have patients, and we're talking about medical here. So I don't see them putting up signage or it being a problem. I think it would be a benefit if they wanted to move out of the residential neighborhood and move into a strip mall. I don't have a problem with it. One thing I get asked all the time from some of these strip mall owners that are struggling, and they have empty spots all over the place, all up and down Wayne Road from each end of the city. They are asking me how they can get somebody in there for marijuana. And I tell them, no, you can't, the way the ordinance is written. But this would be an opportunity for that. I don't see it being a problem. I see it being a benefit, getting it out of the neighborhoods. I'll leave it at that. I see a couple people have their hand up.
Councilman McDermott.
Thank you. Through the chair to the city attorney, if we impose a temporary moratorium, the moratorium itself, because this is not an ordinance, this is simply a moratorium on the licensing process, would not be likely to open us up to litigation, or would it?
I don't believe the moratorium itself will open you up to litigation. Now, anybody can file a lawsuit, but this is not the ordinance that would regulate. This just simply says status quo, let the city figure out what it wants to do. And so I don't think that creates the same level of risk as the ultimate ordinance. And I realize this is an ordinance, but the ultimate ordinance that actually does the regulation and deals with the siting issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. Just to be clear on the caregiver network, and without some sort of a moratorium, and I know that this has occurred in other municipalities, caregivers get together and co-locate their grow facilities in industrial and commercial buildings. So you're not looking at an individual caregiver per se that potentially could open up in a empty strip center, as was just mentioned, but you could have 6 caregivers decide to go together to lease a space and provide their product out of this strip center, which I believe it's 72 plants per caregiver. So if you had 6 caregivers get together to do this, you'd have a rather large grow operation of just under 500 plants. So, there's good reason to have a moratorium and take a step back and, make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row before we just leave it open to interpretation without some kind of ordinance in place to regulate.
Thank you, Councilman Godbout. Councilwoman Green.
Yes, through the chair to Councilman Godbout, Mo stated that the purpose of this moratorium request to revise the ordinance is so that council can figure out what we want, or, on behalf of the residents. So is there any reason why we are requesting it for a full year? Or as the mayor stated, I don't think it would take council more than a meeting or two to determine come to a meeting of the minds. And so can you please clarify exactly how long, with your amendment that you put on the floor, how long are you requesting that for?
The amendment would be for whatever the length of term the moratorium is. So if we want to make it shorter, that's fine. I just know that it took us almost a year to draft our initial marijuana ordinance. But this being probably a lighter lift, since we already have an existing ordinance in place. If I would imagine if Mo was amenable, we could probably get it done in 6 months. But I don't know that I would want to make it any less than that, knowing that you're going to get feedback. You're going to have, they're going to be open meetings. You're going to have the caregivers come in and get their opinion. We're going to have the, what we want to see moving forward from our ordinance and how we want to have it structured. So I think a minimum of 6 months would be, if we want to, somebody else wants to make another amendment to change it to 6 months. I saw Mo give the thumbs up that he thinks we could get it done in that period of time. So.
Okay, is there any other discussion from the council? Councilwoman Green, got your hand up.
Yes, I just want to confirm that you already did. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the council? Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. Respectfully, Councilman Londo, I don't want to call a point of order, but if we can get clarification from the clerk. We're about to vote on a amendment motion that was supported by the chair. I'm not sure if the rules change, being the meeting being electronic. If we can get clarification on how that's going to work.
To the extent that I'm aware, it would not change the process for taking roll for the amendment, if that's what you're asking.
Is it a legal motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, if the clerk can take the roll on the amended motion.
To the amendment, Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg.
No.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
The amendment to the motion passes.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to comments or requests from the public.
One moment, please.
Go ahead.
You need to vote on the agenda item itself as amended.
I apologize. Go ahead, clerk.
On the amended motion, Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg.
No.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to comments and or requests from the public. Everyone speaking before the council shall do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly conduct of the business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, other speakers, or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. It is the speaker's option to ask questions at this time, and the person questioned may choose to respond during the speaker's allotment of time. The clock will not be stopped once it is started. The clock will continue to run until the speaker is completed or their speaking time is exhausted, whichever is first. Is there anybody in the attendee area wishing to speak? Once again, remind folks, if you're on Zoom, you use the raise hand feature. And if you're using a telephone, you'll use *9 to raise your hand. Up first, looks like we have Mr. Asper, William Asper.
Good evening. You can hear me again?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Hi, yes. All right, so there's a few things. Something that many people care about these recycling bins, the stickers. Now, I have 2 properties in Canton. I can tell you how Canton does it. They have GFL, and GFL puts the stickers on the cans. The stickers do not come off. So instead of throwing packets of bags of information that's probably gonna get thrown out, that probably would have been the best choice. They also have it where glass is recyclable over there. It says what's recyclable, just like ours do. But I think the city only gave a base price. So, it doesn't give the percentage, 20% or whatever it is of waste. Now you have an increased charge. That was not told to us. So I thought that was very deceptive by the city. A few things. On 8/9/2019, the city of Westland gave Liberator Group a property in Norway. The city of Westland paid $29.75 from the county and gives it for free. This property was 2506 Bannister. Now, 11/13/2020, this year, Liberator Group sold this property for $84,900. So this goes to the Emerson property. Where did this money go? Why isn't anyone auditing Liberator Group? Now, when you guys gave Liberator Group the money, Liberator Group had the Jefferson Barnes building as their address. Liberator Group doesn't have an office there. Joanne Campbell is the agent, but that doesn't count. They have a mailbox, a little slot, but the USPS does not deliver to an entity inside another entity, such as what that would be. So that's fraud. That's criminal fraud. You cannot state an address you don't have. There is no lease between the city of Westland and Liberator Group. Now, the 2111 Emerson property that is already built, it has a list price of $159,900. Now, I have a house in Oak Park I'm selling tomorrow, actually. That appraised for $161,000. You can't even compare the areas, especially since mine has a basement and it's much bigger. So that the pricing is ridiculous. It'll never appraise. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up, the city of Westland and Liberator Group magically use the same realtor for their properties, Lawrence Henney. Now, if the city of Westland and Liberator Group doesn't have any sort of connection together, well, they're not supposed to, why did they use the same real estate agent? There's a lot looking into this. That $131,000 price, that there's no money to be made. That house probably will go for that, if not less. I mean, just whoever, I don't know. It just doesn't work. But I think that's about 6 or 7 things I said. But
thank you, Mr. Asper. That'll conclude your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Okay, next up, we'll go with Denise Sedman. Denise Sedman. I think I clicked on the wrong person. Go ahead.
No, I was just unmuted. I wanted to, first of all, thank everybody for a year well spent on serving your community. I appreciate the fact that the mayor started a diversity DEI commission and appointed me to that. We've already had several study sessions and that's going well. I appreciate Council Member Tasha Green for introducing the ordinance or the statement about systemic racism, and the city clerk for running a successful with no problems on our annual election that we had, or our presidential election that we just had. And I appreciate the other council people who get back to me regularly. And I'm disappointed that Council Member Herzberg and Council Member McDermott have never gotten back to me when I've sent them an email, although they are councilmen at large. And so the police chief and the fire chief who are on this call too. So anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody, and I appreciate being part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stedman. Merry Christmas to you as well. Next up, we have Blake Perry.
Oh,
Hi, Blake.
hi. A question through the chair to city council members.
Sure, go ahead.
I would like to ask the city council members one question, and I would like everyone to apply to the question. A few years back, when I lived in Garden City, I asked the mayor, could I be on the disability commission? He stated no. I moved back to Westland, and at that time, the acting chairman moved out of Westland and was allowing to be on the commission and not be a resident. So I was told one thing, and then somebody else is getting special privileges, and I've been advocating this about a lot, and I advocated with my other colleagues and things like that. So I would like to hear everybody's opinion on this. City council members.
Thank you, Blake. This isn't a back and forth session. If council members would like to respond, they can do so during their time at the end.
Point of order, Council Pro Tem, he has the right to go through the chair and ask us questions. Every Westland citizen does, and I would like to respond to him because he is a Westland resident.
Go right ahead.
I'm sorry?
I said go right ahead.
In terms of Blake's statement or question that he posed to city council members, everyone knows these people who are involved, and I think we all have a great deal of gratitude and respect for what each of them do for our city and in our city. But Blake is correct. The mayor refusing to allow him to sit on a commission, at which time he was told that he's not a Westland resident, and then to allow someone else in our city to move out of our city and keep their seat, and for the mayor's administration to try and put forward a change to the charter, which states that you must be a Westland resident to sit on the diversity commission and several others. To try and change that is discriminatory. It's discriminatory, and it just echoes the amount of exceptions and differences that are exercised in the city of Westland. That's why we've been sued because of issues like this. It should be one policy, and everybody should have to abide by it and be treated the same. And that's something that I look forward to, either this administration or the next one, being fair and consistent, because what is happening in our city is not fair and consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. That actually concludes the 3-minute time. So if any council members wish to respond, they can during their comments at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone else in the attendee area wishing to speak? Deanna Adams Stachow.
Okay, yes, hi. Good evening. And I just wanted to just mention something in regards to, I believe it was item 1A of the agenda, the Michigan Humane Society euthanization process. In the contract itself, is there, has it been stated the steps and efforts taken before the animals are euthanized and also charged to the city for that particular process? I hate to see animals being euthanized and not enough efforts made in regard to finding a home for them, whether it be in the city or out of the state. So just wondering, as far as the contract is concerning and the wording on that. And everyone have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Next name I see is Chris Stuckey. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to bring to the attention of council the issue of unsubscribed newspapers. I'm seeing them up and down my street. I'm unable to cancel on any kind of a permanent basis. I've been calling them about twice a year. Over the summer, I happened to be getting these while I was out of town. So I called them and made it very clear that I wanted to be permanently removed from the list. And then I got them again this past week. So I canceled again, but I wanted to bring it to your attention as it doesn't seem to be something I can do permanently. And I'm concerned about, I have some security concerns about this.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude your comments, sir?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Next speaker is the phone number ending in 017. Oops, hit the wrong person. Zero 17. Trying to unmute you. Craig, can you help me? There we go. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Richard Graham from Westland and with Move Westland Forward. First, would like to wish Councilwoman Tasha Green a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Councilwoman. Second thing, there's been a lot of discussion. We've received a lot of messages regarding our recycling and sanitation. Just to make sure people are aware, there was, we all paid a $1.7 million tax increase. And really, what did we get? We get, starting in January of 2021, a new company to service us, and that cost us about $1 million more. So that new company, about $1 extra $1 million. We do have recycling, but we can't recycle glass. But there are quite a few other companies that you can, or cities that you can still recycle glass. Find that very interesting. Also, there seemed to be comments, or there were comments, and caused a lot of confusion on Councilman Landau's Facebook page, where he was really happy that the plastic bag it came in was recyclable. It has a number 4 on it, same as the Menards plastic bag has a number 4 on it, which is the type of material and the recyclability of it. However, in the city of Westland, according to Republic, and I called and talked to them, it cannot be recycled. So if people listened to that and thought it was recycled and put it in the blue bin, we are now spending more money because of that. We got to understand, we got to, I guess, comprehend better when we make statements like that, to the public. It'd have been great if it was biodegradable, would have been great if it was paper, but at 9 months late, tens of thousands of dollars more in excess costs, then finally something comes out and, people have been getting them thrown in their bushes, on their front steps, and there's been some put on doorknobs, but, very, very sad to see what's transpired with all those tax dollars. Finally, it was, rather appalling, Mayor Wild's comments during the council meeting. And this is a city council meeting where he's a guest and barely attends, pretty much a part-timer at these meetings, kind of wanting to slap the hands of Councilman Herzberg. And he completely out of line. Councilman Herzberg, it is part of his meeting, and he has the right to ask those questions, and he has the right to comment. Why did the city bring this at the last minute? This contract ends at the end of December. Why wasn't it brought a meeting ago or 2 meetings ago? Why do it at the last minute? Why do things just halfway? Not a very good job. With that is it. Everybody have a great holiday and see you in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up speaker is Lori Wilson. Good evening. Oh, there she is. Go ahead, Lori.
Good evening. I just wanted to make a mention of the Veterans Dinner that were passed out. I was still getting calls at 4 o'clock of the veterans who missed the time frame of getting up to the Wayne Court specifically. There were some things that happened that shouldn't happen, but it is what it is, and they're who they are. So I just want to tell everybody, have a happy Christmas, have a great New Year, stay safe, wear your mask, and be peaceful. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Next up is Victoria Mabry.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to ask through the chair to Mayor Wild. I believe we spent about $40,000 on this information that was supposed to be coming to the homes for the recycling. And I found mine in my bushes. And then I went to my mother's, and she's at Deerhurst condominiums. And there is only one bag given thrown on the step for 2 homes. So what would have been nice would have been that the gentleman or woman, whomever came to the house, stepped up onto the step and placed it on the doorknob. That way each home got the information that was required. And for people like me, fortunately, I go outside and I'm always cleaning leaves, and that's how I found my bag. And I just feel that that was not necessary. And I would like to see us taken care of a little bit more properly. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else wish to speak during citizens' comments? Next up, owner Arthur. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Through the chair to the police chief, and looking at the transparency page of the graphs of the police work that has been done over year 2019, you had a part on there that talked about police complaints and in regards to unprofessionalism. But it stated the gender of the complainers, but not the ethnic groups. So if you could give, if you have some of that information, it would be very helpful to me as I entertain this diversity committee work. So if you could get that to me at a later date, or some explanation of why it's just gender and not particular ethnic groups in regards to this, your statistics on police unprofessionalism. Thank you.
Through the chair, would you like me to answer that real quick?
Sure, Chief.
Thank you. Just to try to give a quick answer there. Currently, our Deputy Chief, Brian Miller, is working along with the Western Wayne County police departments. And together, Westland's kind of taken lead on the transparency dashboard and trying to implement this through the entire area. So right now, what we're doing is we're kind of working on a template for all of the departments around us to use. That way, we're all reporting the exact same data. It really doesn't make any sense for one department to report data one way and another department, neighboring community to report it differently. So currently, we are putting together a template for all of these surrounding agencies around us to use. And as we move into the next year, we're going to have a lot more of that information available. So it's kind of a work in progress still, but we are taking that into account, Mr. Warren. So thank you.
Thank you. Does that conclude your comments, Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the attendee area wishing to speak tonight? Any other comments from the public? Final call, any other comments from the public? Okay, we'll close comments from the public and move on to comments from the mayor. Mayor?
Well, thank you, Council President Pro Tem. First to Miss, and I hope I said your last name right, Miss Mabry. I apologize if the package at your house wasn't delivered properly. We really spent a lot of time with the city employees on education and exactly how to do that. So they did deliver, about 25,000 of those in a week. So I'll talk with their supervisor tomorrow about that. And either yourself or your neighbor, if you did not get one, or if you need another one, if you call my office with your address, I'll drop one off for you. Wish a speedy recovery to Council President Hart for his surgery today. And certainly this is not the time any of us want to go to the hospital with the holidays coming up, and with all that's going on, we wish him a speedy recovery. And it sounds like his surgery went well today. I'd like to thank the pro tem for a quick moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting for to recognize our fallen Wayne County Sheriff, Benny Napoleon. Benny has just been a great friend of the city of Westland, but he's been a leader in Wayne County and the Detroit area for a long time. And he really has done a good job of elevating the entire department in every position that he's served in. So our thoughts are definitely going to be with his daughter and his family. And I had forwarded council the arrangements over the weekend. Then just a couple of things to wrap up for the end of the year is we did open City Hall back today. The finance department is open to the public during normal business hours to process in-person payments beginning today. We've tried to comply with the Michigan Health Department's order that basically any employee that can work remotely needed to be working remotely. With the winter tax bills going out and water bill payments due, it's just the amount of volume of those payments coming in, and it couldn't be handled remotely. So today they were open, and business was brisk, but it was very smooth. Everybody was very respectful, and I appreciate everybody's help. We are working towards reopening all the departments when we come back from the holidays on January 4th. So we'll be communicating with you over the holidays on that. I just remind everybody that there is free drive-through COVID testing set up now at the Friendship Center in the parking lot. It's a partnership with Wayne County CEO Warren Evans and the Wayne County Health Department. The hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So definitely utilize that service. I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to be here, so I would encourage you to definitely take advantage of this free testing while we have the opportunity to. We've got some holidays coming up, so city offices will be closed Thursday, December 24th and 25th, as well as Thursday, December 31st and Friday, January 1st for holidays. I know it's a little tough because this won't show on TV tomorrow, but Council Gleaners Food, there will be a Gleaners Food distribution tomorrow at the Jefferson Barnes Community Vitality Center at the Dorsey Center from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if you do any social media posting tonight or in the morning, if you could share the city's information on that. There's also going to be a flu vaccine clinic for anyone 18 years and older there. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Don't forget to wear your mask. We're asking everybody to participate to wear their mask. Speaking of masks, I'd like to thank all of the officials that helped out WLND with their Mask Up Westland, Stay Safe Westland public service announcement. And it looked like everybody that participated in that kind of enjoyed it. They really did a good job of putting that together. And I saw that Craig had asked us to share that. So I put that out on my social media today, and hopefully you will as well as we get the message out. Remind everybody that the All-American Holiday Decorating Contest runs all the way through December 31st. You can visit the city's website for details. You can nominate yourself, family members, friends, neighbors. The more the merrier. So try to take advantage of recognizing some people that are important to you that went over and above for holiday decorations. And with that, I just want the council and the residents to know that we here at the city of Westland, we're proud to work for you. We do everything we can to try to take care of our residents in every way that we can. I know that Chief Stratton and I have been staying in touch with the White House to make sure that as the vaccinations become available to the state of Michigan, that Westland is, we want to make sure that we're going to get access to those vaccinations for our residents and first responders in a proper manner there. So with that, on behalf of my family and my staff, have a safe and happy holidays, and we'll see everybody after the first of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we're up to comments from the city attorney. Mr. Fasson, do you have anything tonight?
Thank you. Just to alert the council, Lansing is working on another amendment to the Open Meetings Act to allow for these virtual meetings to continue with fewer restrictions, at least in the first quarter of 2021. So we kind of anticipate, it's passed through the Senate. We're anticipating that it'll be ultimately by the House and signed by the governor, which will make it easier, if you will, for a continuation of virtual meetings in January, February, and March at least. So as that progresses, we'll keep everybody updated. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Fosfone. Okay, next up is comments from the city council members. We'll start tonight with the birthday girl, Councilwoman Tasha Green.
Thank you, Pro Tem Londo. I would like to start by thanking you for the moment of silence for our Wayne County Sheriff, Benny Napoleon. As many of you know, I am a Wayne County Reserve Sheriff Deputy, and I have been for approximately three plus years. And in that time, I was really able to form a bond with Sheriff Napoleon, and he actually was one of the people in politics, and there are not few in politics, but he was one of the few that I really was close to. And I felt like he really genuinely wanted to see me do well. And so when he became sick, and as so many other people did in prayer, I really thought that he was going to make it. Some of you may know he had a brother who was in the hospital he has a brother who was in the hospital for almost 3 months, and he was able to pull through. And so this news was heart-wrenching for me. And so thank you for remembering him tonight. And as Mayor Wiles said, if you all could remember his family and you know, anybody who was close to him and our county, because he also represented the city of Westland in prayer and thoughts, that would be awesome. I wanted to just remind everyone that our Wayne County Executive Warren Evans donated over 20,000 masks to Westland residents. And so if there are any Westland residents who have not had an opportunity to contact to visit City Hall to pick up masks, if you are disabled or you are a senior citizen who cannot safely obtain face masks, please feel free to give me a call on my cell phone at area code 734-828-7010. I will do a doorstep delivery for you as many times as needed. Once again, 734-828-7010. The gentleman, Chris Stuckey, who mentioned issues with the newspaper deliveries, that there was no one addressed that. And I actually wish they had because we have a responsibility to acknowledge the concerns of our residents, but also, Mr. Stuckey, this is a long-term issue that many of us on City Council have been fighting for on behalf of our residents, because there is no oversight or even accountability when it comes to what is happening with these newspaper companies. It continues to happen. It is unacceptable. And so I'll be talking to a couple of my colleagues in terms of trying to come up with a resolution, but I think the accountability falls on the city of Westland. It's not just the newspaper company. We have the ability and the responsibility to act on your behalf. And I too, like you, have been still bombarded with those newspapers, as has many of my neighbors. And so I would like to see that addressed in our city as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and hopefully we will move forward with some sort of action. And finally, just reminding everyone that you know, COVID is real. Please protect yourself. Wear a mask if you're going to be outside. If you are a vitamin person, I would encourage you to take vitamins. Whatever you can do to keep yourself safe. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Next up, Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you, Councilman Londo, and nice job tonight. I'm going to start right there off of Councilwoman Green. She responded to Mr. Stuckey about the newspapers. We did adopt an ordinance that says newspapers have to be delivered to the porch. You can't just throw them on the street. There were issues with them getting stuck in snow blowers. And what happened with that? Nothing. To my knowledge, some of these big Gannett, these news corporations, they basically told somebody from the city, hey, well, we're just going to take it to court and we're going to drag it out as long as possible. So at that point, we're looking at the cost. Do we want to pay all that money in court just for this newspaper ordinance? So I'm glad you brought that up again so we can really address it, because we did pass that ordinance. It's really a shame that city council would pass a new city ordinance and it would just be disrespected and thrown out like that. And it's unfortunate. But I think we need to take a second look at that. Maybe sending a notice out to them about it. I know some of the local papers, they've adhered to it just fine. It's mainly Gannett. It's the Sunday Select or Saturday Select, ad coupons and stuff like that. So, when that process was going on, they basically told us that they held an event at Westland Mall, and that's where everybody signed up. And that's why you were on the list. I mean, that's just the most bogus claim I've ever heard during a council meeting. So we need to address that with them. Thanks for bringing that up. Mrs. Stachow, you brought up a question on the Humane Society contract. And I didn't write down your question, but I wrote down the answer as no. The language was not in there. That's what we were trying to get. I'm kind of shocked that we weren't able to come to some sort of compromise on that, and then now it just gets shot down because of it. I would have liked to have heard more thoughts and suggestions from other council members, but it's just the way it is. So, and then Mr. Blake Perry, you asked the question about, do you have to live in Westland to be on a commission? I think some commissions you do, absolutely. I don't think for all of them. I know that, for example, the Historical Commission was asking us to look at that. They kind of have a shortage of members over there, and they had some interest, I think, somebody from Garden City, and we were looking at maybe opening up some of those boards. But in the end, the mayor decides that, but he gets to appoint the boards and commissioners. So, but I thank you for bringing that up. And then Ms. Sedman, you brought something up about not getting back to you on an email. I apologize. Usually I see an email come through and then maybe the president or the pro tem might have already responded to you. And I think we all try to not bombard residents, with 7 emails with the same answer. So I'll go take a second look at that and see if there's something you asked me that I didn't respond to. I apologize. Regarding the recycling stickers, I asked at the last meeting about, the delivery and all that, and it kind of was different from what we were told, but it is what it is. The education piece is not over yet. It's got to continue. We can't leave it at these stickers. I'm a little bit ticked off that, GFL in Canton, they're putting stickers on the bins themselves, and they're taking glass. And I don't think when we had these study sessions on the trash contract that those factors were brought up as being a factor in the price. We were presented with, hey, this one's the cheapest and this is what we're going to get. We didn't look at, hey, we're going to spend $40,000 on stickers. We didn't look at the other aspects. So, but like I said, we can't let it stop there. We've got to get this right. We've got to get messages out. We got to do more education, PSAs, whatever it is. We need to keep that up. So I hope nobody expected that we're just doing stickers and that's it, because a lot of people, you put them on the door, one person gets it, they throw it out, or even they put it on the bin and then they don't talk to everybody else. If there's 5 or 6 people in the household, we've got to reach everybody to make this efficient. So that's going to be ongoing, and I believe it will be handled. Yeah, the last thing I'll just touch on, we had the marijuana caregiver conversation that lasted quite a while. I've asked for study sessions before for all new ordinances, and I guess that went on deaf ears. And this being the exact reason why, council's the legislative body of the city. We should have a say in it before it comes on the agenda. I had things, I think other council members had things they wanted to say and add to that conversation too. So I'll look forward to that study session when it comes forward. I think that's about it. I'll just wish Councilwoman Green a very happy birthday and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you. Next up, Councilman Godbout.
Yes, I'd like to start by wishing Council President Jim Hart all the best and a speedy recovery from his surgery. I too would like to wish a happy birthday to Councilwoman Green. A couple of my colleagues have already commented on the newspaper drops. We do have an ordinance in place about those types of drops for the newspapers. I know that Gannett has typically ignored it or made up some excuses as to why they're allowing it to go on, that people haven't opted out for it. But as you heard from this gentleman this evening, that even when he has opted out, he's still getting the deliveries. I know the state currently has multiple bills in place to allow for web posting of all city notices. Hopefully that gets swift action and enacted. And I'd also like to remind my colleagues that we voted to post all of our legal notices in Gannett at the meeting, and that will be coming up again as that newspaper contract goes out for bid. So if we really want to take a stance on Gannett's refusal to follow our ordinances, then maybe we need to reconsider allowing them to publish all of our legal notices for thousands of dollars a year. Just my opinion on that. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone. Lockdowns, quarantines, mask up, and virtual meetings have become the new normal. The impact on local businesses has been nothing short of devastating in some cases. But the real tragedy is the separation and loss of life by friends, family, and loved ones due to the COVID-19. I pray that 2021 brings us back to some semblance of pre-pandemic normal, and that everyone have a safe and healthy Christmas and a blessed and happy New Year. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Godbout. Next up, Councilwoman Rakowski.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem, for recognizing me. Like to extend a happy birthday to Councilwoman Green. She shares a birthday with my husband, so it's a good day. And I also want to send out, happy because we don't have to pray no more for Council President Jim Hart's surgery. I'm just thankful that he's in recovery, and I wish him wish him well on that recovery journey. It's so much fun. A lot of my colleagues have mentioned Mr. Stuckey in the newspaper. My household fell victim to being one of the houses that I got in the snow blower. So Mr. Stuckey, if you can email your address to one of the council members, and we can kind of try to advocate on your behalf as well. But we do need to, get some teeth to that ordinance. I consider it like littering. I mean, it's littering. And it damaged my property, so I'm a little miffed about it. Just wanted to thank everyone who participated in the veteran meals distribution. Collectively, we served veterans throughout Westland and the city of Wayne. It was a great afternoon, and we got to serve, I think it was nearly 250 families, plus some others, and we had a lot of organizations come together to make that happen. So thank you very much. It's always good to be able to give back to those who actually served us. And while we're talking about food, sometimes stars align. So Councilman Landau and myself caught wind of a family that was down on their luck and needed a little bit of support. So we worked our channels, but lo and behold, in the middle of doing all of that, one of our residents out of the blue contacted Council President Pro Tem Landau, and out of the compassion of her own heart, because she was gifted something, she wanted to gift that forward. So thank you, Kathleen. We can't express how happy that family was. So I hope that makes your heart grow. And we send our best wishes for your sister right now too. The mayor had made mention of the Gleaners Food Drive. That'll be on the 22nd at Jefferson Barnes Community Vitality Center tomorrow. I know this will be late, at 9 a.m. There is another distribution on the Gleaners website for the 28th at Burning Bush International. That's at 30355 Annapolis. And that is from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the 28th. With that, I wish you a Merry Christmas. If Christmas is what you celebrate, or any other happy holiday, it's going to be a little different this year. It reminds me of one of my favorite Christmas songs by Miss Judy Garland. And it's like, hopefully next year we'll all be together, but until then we'll muddle through somehow. So I wish you peace, love, and health in the new year.
Thank you. I thought you were about to break out in song.
I will spare you all that.
Next up, Councilman McDermott.
I'm disappointed too that we didn't get any singing, but thank you. Want to start out tonight's meeting by thanking Council President Pro Tem Landau for stepping in the wake of Councilman Hart having a procedure. My thoughts are certainly with Council President Hart, his wife Linda, his family, so that he has a quick and speedy recovery so that we have him back here the next time for the meeting. So my thoughts are certainly with Council President Hart and his family. I'd like to wish a happy birthday to my colleague, Councilwoman Tasha Green. Happy birthday, and it's another trip around the sun. I too would like to extend my condolences to the family of Sheriff Benny Napoleon. Sheriff Napoleon has represented Wayne County for quite some time in many different capacities, and obviously most recently as being reelected as the sheriff here in Wayne County. And so it's obviously very sad and tragic at this time of year to lose a loved one. And so my thoughts and my prayers and my concerns are with his family, with his coworkers at the county, and with all of his friends and everybody that knew him on a personal level. So obviously we're thinking of the Napoleon family. I certainly am at this time. And then as you see behind me here on the banner, it's talking about the HEROES Act. What the HEROES Act is, and I've mentioned this at a couple of different council meetings, it is federal legislation to help people out, help working people out, help families out, help small business owners out, help communities just like Westland out as we all deal with this pandemic together, as we all try to get through COVID together. Unfortunately, going all the way back to June, we've had inaction by our federal government to provide a relief package, a second relief package for working people, for families, for municipalities, for our public safety officials, police, fire, our EMS workers, and also to communities just like Westland. I really feel that many in the federal government have absconded from their duty to serve us, to serve our country by delaying and dragging their feet on passing a second relief package. So I would hope that you can call your senators here in Michigan. Obviously, Senators Stabenow and Peters have been on the front line fighting for the HEROES Act and fighting for additional COVID relief, but unfortunately, not everybody has. So if you call your senators at 866-832-1560, call them and demand that we have some COVID relief. I know it's something that's being currently debated, but we've waited 6 months. Working families, small business owners, public safety officials, communities can't wait any longer. So call senators and demand that we get some relief on COVID right now, today. The other thing that I would like to say is we have obviously many holidays that are being celebrated right now. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and I would certainly like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, and a joyous and happy New Year, a prosperous New Year. But one other holiday that deserves mention is the holiday of Festivus, which is coming up on December 23rd. So this Wednesday, we will be celebrating, those of us who watch the TV show Seinfeld, the holiday of Festivus. This was a tradition obviously started by Councilman Kerr, who used to sit up here. I know that he had the Festivus pole, no tinsel, because I know we all found that very distracting, but he celebrated Festivus and was hoping to continue that tradition. So if you do celebrate Festivus, please join me on my Facebook page, Councilman Mike McDermott, this Wednesday all day for an airing of the grievances, as is tradition, with the Festivus holiday. But I will wrap it up again by saying, hope that everybody has a very Merry Christmas, a happy Hanukkah if you celebrate that, happy Kwanzaa, and a happy, safe, and prosperous New Year. Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Councilman McDermott, and thank you everyone for your comments tonight and for everyone that attended tonight. I have to start off tonight. This is kind of neat. I get the last word, so I get to go till 10 o'clock here. So, joking, of course. I want to start off by thanking Councilwoman Andrea Rakowski for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. And also happy birthday to Councilwoman Green. I hope you had a great day. And it was talked about, our council president had a medical procedure today. He is doing well. He's watching, I believe. He's doing so well. In fact, he sent me a text earlier as soon as he was out of surgery that said, "I'm still the council president. Sorry, Mike." So he must have still been under anesthesia. I don't know, but we love you, Jim, and get back soon. Mr. Stuckey, thank you for contacting us. Just to clarify, a lot of times residents speak and council members have a chance to respond right then and there, or they respond at the end of the meeting. A lot of times choose to respond at the end of the meeting. So I will do so. So if you'd like to contact me directly, you can contact me via email. I'm on the city database, mlondo@cityofwestland.com, or you can call my cell phone directly at 734-223-0200. As was mentioned, the Veteran Holiday Meal Giveaway, the 7th annual Veteran Holiday Meal Giveaway was a tremendous success. There's so much that goes into that event. The planning and execution, it takes months and almost a year total with everything, getting everything together. I really want to thank all the volunteers, but really want to thank Vic Barra and the Wayne Ford Civic League, both mayors and their administrations and their staff from Wayne and Westland. And then Councilwoman Rakowski and her husband Eric were tasked with sourcing all the items this year. And I know I had a lot of fun with that. They used their shopping skills to get great prices from all the various items from multiple stores in our community, around the community. We were at Meyer, funny story, we were at Meyer picking up pallets of food that we all had to end up down stacking on the carts and wheeled into the Wayne Ford Civic League, which is a nice workout. So I really wish you guys could see the assembly line as well that Councilman Hart puts together every year. It's just amazing how fast we're able to pack 300 boxes with so many volunteers involved. You know, every single one of them is checked for quality control. We make sure that, you know, everything that leaves the assembly line is premium quality items in there, and they're all stocked. It's really an incredible process. So I'd also like to echo what Councilwoman Rakowski said in regards to one of our residents. We'll just use her first name, Kathleen. I'm sure you'll see this as she watched our meetings. Her timing was actually perfect. We were in the middle of working through some situations, trying to find some things, and she literally called my phone. I was expecting another call, picked up, and she had 4 large boxes, and I mean large boxes of food that had everything in there you can imagine. I mean, I won't go through the items, but enough food to really, really take care of a family. So thank you so much. I mean, the family was thanking us over and over, 10 times and then some. So thank you so much. We really do have some really compassionate people in our community. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that generous act of kindness. Mayor mentioned the COVID testing. Thank you to Wayne County as well as the mayor and his administration for bringing this critical testing site to our community. It is free, as it was stated. You can pull right up. You don't even have to get out of your car. So please utilize this great resource right here in Westland and get tested so we as a community can help stop the spread of COVID-19. Lastly, I wish everyone a happy holiday, safe and happy new year. I know we're all excited to get to see this year end and start fresh in 2021. With that, I'll ask, the chair will ask to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. We are